What's up, everybody, and welcome in to a new edition of the Backliners podcast. Aggro and Barra, as per usual, joined by the one and only dad of Renegades. It's Coach Rowe. I almost called you Daddy Rowe in the tweet,
Yeah.
and then I decided that
I'm
maybe
glad that
I didn't want to
didn't
like freak you out before it was beforehand. Now it's too late. You know what I mean? Like
I'm pretty freaked out as it is.
well, perfect. You're stuck here though. So what are you gonna do? Leave? Like I don't think so.
I actually didn't consider that as an option, so I might. But
Okay, well, you can't.
imagine it from my perspective, right? I'm putting my face in front of like all of, especially Barra's subscribers, where Barra's had bad drafts all year,
all year. Yeah.
and now they learn who's responsible. Even for the years previous, when I wasn't even coaching Barra, it's
Right.
now it's all on me. So this was an intimidating move.
Ro, did you like join this team and you're like, oh, haha, the meme, like Barra's teams always have bad picks and bans. I'm gonna turn it around this year, and then you're just like watching and you can't stop it, and you're like, what is going on?
If he picked Scotty top 3 today, there's nothing I can do. I've been trying all year. Thank God the regular season's over because we haven't got long to go. I can finally escape it soon, but
It's counting down the days. Counting down the days. Barra, how excited?
Yeah.
Okay, were you going to play Scotty this week anyways before Gormiser's tweeting like, oh, Scotty hasn't been played yet. She's one of the few. Like, were you begging to play it?
So our scrims, as I am sure Rowe will get into, our scrims have not been great the last like 3 weeks. They have not been good at all.
no.
And the last 2 games that we played on the day before we played SPL, those were the only good scrims we've had in quite some time.
In like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they happen to be on Apollo and Scotty because we decided that nothing else was working and we're just going to play ranked. So those are my ranked picks, and we ran with it.
Okay, not memeing here. The Apollo has looked good for everyone who's played it. Like, Zap popped off on it. Everyone's been popping off on the Apollo. That god's good, bro. It's time for people to start
Thank
playing.
God Ben's not here. Oh my God, he's just going on about it. Like I told you so. I told you so. He's been asking for it for months.
The Apollo?
It's good. Yeah, it's good now. It's good for specific reasons, but it hasn't always been good.
Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
got some pretty big buffs. Like, the dash buff was pretty critical for that
Barra
game,
level
right?
1 dash, level 1 dash, and then dashing in.
Yeah, bro, what was
on your mid too.
that?
Jake's been asking that like since December last year. He's like, if we just do this, it'll work. If we just do this, even on Jingwei, just dash level 1 dash, it'll work.
Yeah.
It didn't work on Jingwei,
No.
Weird.
actually.
No.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have CC. Like, Apollo dash, that has CC. You know, that's
Yeah,
that's a good ability to get first, right
It took
there.
us 10 months to realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been quite a process this whole year.
Someone yelled at me about asking you for your Scotty build today. I casted your game. I didn't look at your build a single time.
I don't remember what I built.
Okay.
Give me a little
that
bit.
that was the Icavol mantle game, I think.
Oh, I thought that was the United one. Did I build it both games?
Oh, that was the United one. Maybe. I didn't pay any attention today.
Yeah, no one did. Can we
Yeah.
just go, like, listen, we're
Yeah.
off the official broadcast. You know, we're on the Backliners. It's after hours, so to speak.
Yeah. I took
didn't,
no
like-
notes today. Actually, I took some notes for first game, and I was like, wait, what am I doing?
Yeah,
And I
like,
stopped.
it's just a habit.
And
at
then we
that point,
lost the
right?
next 2, so I mean.
Well, it's clearly your notes were what was doing
Exactly,
it. Oh, everyone's saying
yeah.
Void Berserkers.
Oh,
is what-
yeah.
That's
is
a
what
classic.
you went.
Yeah.
Didn't you go? You went that on Heim as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that build on Heim, so just kind of the same thing from before. Good against assassins who are going to dive you. Makes you pretty hard to kill.
If I'm getting dove regardless, I'm going to take X amount of damage regardless. It will increase my damage output to live longer in the fight than get literally one shot regardless of situation and positioning.
I don't want you guys to tell me what you're going to be picking at playoffs, but...
Well, we don't know. So.
Okay, great. So
I haven't even talked about that yet.
is Scotty even in the realm of possible picks for you guys moving forward? Or was it a last few weeks sort of thing? I mean, I guess it has to be because you picked it against the United, which was a super important set, right?
Yeah, I went into that set not caring. So
Okay. Hold on, what?
Let's talk about that for a moment.
no, it's just I went into that set like if you're gonna go into a set and be stressed about it and think like every situation is going to like make or break the game, including picks and bans, then you're gonna be stressed out the whole time. And you need to go in loose because the other team's gonna come in tight. God.
Okay.
Not loving my phrasing here.
All
But
right.
it's
So
a
let me ask you
very-
this, Barra. Let me ask you this. Season 1 World's Finals. Did you care then?
No.
No, huh? How about season 2 up against when you were C9 going against Adapting and the boys? You
I
care
actually cared a lot about that one.
then? And that's why you lost,
I-
I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just a mental diff of going into a game loose. And with Jake's playstyle, being loose is better. And if I can like mold my playstyle around him and just not care as much like about X, Y, or Z play, then it makes it better. And that's, I mean, Sky just like fits like me and Jake just hold W key at you. So
Yeah, that's true.
true.
It does fit that. Can I also say today that, look, no one should take anything that happened in any of this week's games seriously, really whatsoever, outside of the first set of the week.
Yeah,
But-
outside of our set, I could agree.
Yeah, outside of your set. But Jake kind of popped off on the emoji today, fellas. He kind of
It-
popped off.
He's like, just give me it, and we're like, all right, the game doesn't matter, and now people are gonna ban it.
Dude,
No,
that is
we
huge.
shouldn't have we show it like in a match that doesn't matter at all as well. It's like the worst
Right.
decision, but it's what it is.
Well, Barra, you've talked so much about Jake's like confidence level and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Overall, it's got to be a net positive, right? Like Jake's confidence on the emoji has got to go up now that he popped off, right?
Yeah, I mean, Emoja, in my opinion, as well, is a very confidence-based pick. Like, if you're worried about your own performance and like second guessing all your ability placements, and like if you miss an ability, it's like, man, why am I playing this god? I should be playing another god. I feel like on Emoja, he's finally at that level of like, I can play this god, and like if I miss an ability, it's fine. And because I feel like pro players do that all the time with
Yep.
like the top meta picks of, if I play Hera, will it be to Dardes level? Or
Right.
like,
It won't be, by the way.
yeah, it won't be. It's just, you have to face that first.
Yeah, exactly. You have to accept that, and then you can play the god.
Exactly. And people stress so much about it, and I think Jake is finally at that confidence level of, oh, I can play this to a really high level and make it look good. And yeah.
I think it's definitely
proud
gonna help
of
you
him.
guys come playoff time. Yeah, I'm proud of him too. Being able to play the best god in your role helps your team quite a bit. Rowe breathing a sigh of relief that maybe
Yeah, I
you
mean,
guys want the permaban Umoja.
we just scraped in there 6th place. Maybe it could have come a bit sooner, maybe, but it's not.
Nah, we didn't
Yeah.
need any of that. I want to talk to you guys. I mean, regular season's over. This phase started in the summer. It is dead ass November right now. Like it is November, my
by
guy.
definition, it is. Yeah.
It is crazy, man. What was this phase like for you guys? I think this is the perfect episode to bring on another Renegades member so you guys can kind of talk about what it was like from both of your perspectives inside your team. Rowe, from your perspective, what was this phase like for you?
I moved out. I moved out of the house. No way. It was rough. It's been long. It's been really long. But the whole year's been a learning experience. I love the guys, but being there in lockdown and being at work during lockdown 24/7, not me. I'm not a gaming house kind of guy anyway. So when I got the opportunity to move here with my girlfriend, I took it pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't blame you. California probably a pretty decent place to be when
It's a
you,
nice
you can
place,
choose.
yeah.
Barra, how about for you? When you think of phase 2 in totality, like what do you think of?
Pretty stressful, and a lot of sets were like good, and then a lot of sets were just, I feel like, a waste of time. Whereas I feel like we would just show up, and then either our drafts would be bad or our play would be bad, and then we just lose, and then be like, what did we learn? We learned absolutely nothing. We just showed up, and then we lost.
It
And
sounds like, you talking about SPL or scrims? Is that, I guess it could be either.
I'll say either. Because I don't know. I mean, it's definitely better than last year. Don't get me wrong. Last year was hell on earth. This
Yeah.
year and this phase wasn't like the worst thing, but
A
I
glowing
think going
endorsement.
through the whole like roster change and figuring out like what we're gonna do about that. I always say roster changes. They always stress me out really bad, and so I did not enjoy any piece of that or any part of that. But yeah, it's just been stressful, and it kind of feels like it was shorter, but it kind of feels like it was really long at the same time.
Yeah,
So
I kind of know what you mean by that. I think it's just like the
Yeah.
world is so weird right now that it's hard to understand the passage of time in any way,
Yeah,
Mhm.
shape, or
I
form.
think I just lost track of time this whole entire year.
Yeah.
You can't go out, so it's just like, well, I mean, normally, I mean, you can see, I don't see the sun anyway. You can't really tell, but like, it's been no different, like in that regard. But like, I've just stopped
Mhm.
looking at the clock, stopped looking at the calendar. Like, oh, we have SPL this week, same as last week. Go again.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly the same way every single week, it feels like. If I would have told you guys that you would, if I were to have presented your exact finish and the way that you played throughout all of phase 2 to you at the very beginning of phase 2, if I would have said, hey, you're going to finish 6th, have play like this against these teams, you know, you get to see all your post game stats, whatever, would you have been happy with this outcome, or would you have expected more
Um,
or less?
I wouldn't have been happy. Definitely wouldn't have been happy. I thought we were actually going to be worse at the start than what we were, but I knew we were going to have a rough start regardless. So we started off a little bit higher than I thought we would have, but then obviously we were 6th place both splits, so we stagnated and just like plateaued, I guess, in standings regarding. But behind the scenes, I think everybody's been working really hard. We had that like kick up with the roster change and everything, but apart from that, I think I've been really happy. But if I just saw the standings, I wouldn't be happy seeing us in 6th place. I don't think, because such aspirations for this team. But knowing what's happened this year and everything that's gone into it, I can't be disappointed. You know, we're at playoffs. We still have plenty of opportunities left for playoffs and worlds. So it is what it is. We're just really glad we made playoffs, or at least I am. Yeah.
Barra, your thoughts?
Definitely upset. Because I feel like we easily could have snuck into at least 4th place, maybe 3rd. And that was kind of my goal by this whole year. Was in the beginning I knew it was going to be rough, and then I thought we were going to have a much bigger, I guess, like ramp upwards, which I think we kind of have, but at the same time we've been like downtrending a bit. And I think a lot of that comes down to just like random spouts of like bad play by literally everyone on the team. Like all 5 players on the team, in my opinion, have had really bad individual performances that have lost us games. And it just sucks to be like kind of inconsistent individually. And then sometimes our team plays aren't the best, but I feel like on a individual basis is where we're kind of struggling.
Yeah, I was
Or
going to
where we
ask
have
you,
been
like,
struggling.
what do you think prevented you guys from getting to where you expected? You think it was just off individual performances every once in a while, or you know, team play? Like, without getting into it too much, of course,
Mhm.
what do you think held you back from finishing where you expected to?
I think it was a lot of struggling behind the scenes and a lot of internal discussion of how we want to play the game and coming into scrims with a certain idea, and then we kind of stick to the idea or we do the idea too much and then throw away everything that we've learned previously and just like, this is how we're going to play the game. This is everything we have to do is right here, like laid out in this whatever.
Yeah,
I
And
think
we just forget like how to play Smite sometimes.
Yeah, it's been like really challenging to hold on to our identity and like keep those fundamentals in check week to week, because we always want to try new stuff and things like that, because we want to claw ourselves up the ladder as fast as possible, as that's just
Mhm.
natural because we're competitors, right?
sure.
So like doing what we've been doing, even though it's, you know, our style, it doesn't work a lot of the time because we're just not the best. And that's just kind of like a fact of the way it is. You know, we'll get better over time, but we also just want to try new things to maybe accelerate that growth. And then we lose ourselves in that maze of just like, what can we try today? What can we do this wild plan for this team that, we'll know what they're going to pick this week. Let's do this wild thing that we can just completely, hopefully hard counter them and outdraft them. And then we'll practice it, all week or 3 out of 5 days, or, 80% of the games or something, and then it doesn't work, and we've spent this whole time practicing for what ended up being nothing really.
Mhm.
We learned some things over the way, over the course of the year, even though doing that, but I think that's kept us afloat. But yeah, it's been the difficult thing is just keeping our identity and keeping those fundamentals in check, because if you lose those and you lose the biggest strengths of each of your players, then you're just 5 random players that are trying to come together and play like one ranked strategy, for example. But
Yep.
I think that's the hardest problem. We just have a lot of disagreements on how we think it's best to play the game, and then how we think our team plays best, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it is a long process, but we're slowly getting to an understanding together. I I want to play a certain way. Three other people want to play, like three separate people want to play other ways, and then ultimately we should just mesh that together, decide on how we want to play, and that through like results as well, like decide on what's worked and what hasn't and for what reasons, and then eventually just come down to say playoffs in 2 weeks and with a way we want to play and a way we've been practicing that brings in all of our strengths of our players over the course of the year and recently as well. So I don't know. It's just a team that a thing that every team goes through is just to find their identity and keep a hold of it and evolve it over time as the meta evolves as well, because everyone wants to break the meta, so you have to be 2 steps ahead of it. We'll see what happens in 2 weeks, where it's not often we get to see like a break, at least not this year, this phase I should say.
Yeah.
We get to see a break and then games happen because
Mm-hmm.
the meta behind the scenes evolves every 2 weeks. It evolves slowly in front of the camera because you don't see anywhere near as much SPL games, but I think I looked the other day, and we're well past 500 scrims, and I don't know how many SPL games there are, but each team has played, I would say, on average, at least 500 scrims. So there's a lot more, and a lot more is tried behind the scenes than what people see. So
Yeah.
keeping a hold of your fundamentals and things like that is a big challenge for sure.
Man, 500. That is crazy. You got a win percentage for me, Rowe, if you're willing to give it to me over 500
No,
games?
last year in my sheet, like I had a quick way to see the win percentage, and I got way too deep into that. I remember like when I joined the team as on main roster, our win percentage shot up like to like 80%. I was so happy, and it doesn't
Huge.
matter. Like scrim wins don't matter, so I just like I hid that away. It's way harder to get to now. I would have to like add it together and like I don't know. Do one quick sum. It might take 20 seconds, but I'm not doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I will quit asking. I completely understand.
Good.
Absolutely, and I respect that about you. It's funny that you bring up meta because that's exactly where my next question was going to go, because there is a pretty big patch coming in 2 days from when we're recording this, and then you guys get to scrim on that for a little bit until it's playoffs time. Do you think that is enough time for the meta to change? Maybe not drastically, but for different things to kind of move around? Do you expect pretty big shifts in what teams are going to be doing?
Yeah, I think it's like the perfect. I think 2 weeks is a good amount of time as long as all the teams in the tournament are practicing for those 2 weeks. It's a good amount of time to leave for more change in the tournament. Like we'll see the meta evolve over the tournament from the start to the end of the finals, like grand finals.
Sure.
We'll see the meta change, which is really cool. I think if we didn't play from now until Worlds, like some other teams have to, then it's a lot more boring because we get to Worlds and the meta is like already like nailed. Like that's what's happening, and it'll change over the course of that meta, but it'll be a long time from then until Worlds with like a really similar meta. So I'm glad we've got 2 weeks and then a tournament to see what everybody does. It's just really cool to see when we get to the tournament what everyone thinks has been the best from the last 2 weeks. The new patches. Because it's always a question mark. I don't know what people are going to think of like all the gods that are buffed and things like that. I just have to make my own opinion and collaborate with my team and see how they think of it, and then practice all of those things as well. But yeah, it'll just depend how much teams practice as well. I think 2 weeks is enough, if not the perfect amount of time, to see some more growth during the tournament as well.
Yeah, Barra, what do you think? Do you think that there will be a fairly big adjustment, minor? Like, where do you kind of think that the meta will change?
I don't think it'll be a major adjustment. I think it'll be a decent adjustment. And I think the first half, like from Tuesday to the weekend, will be kind of testing like picks for each team and figuring out like what works and like what each team like wants to play. And then after that, we'll just be like hammering in those strategies up until playoffs for each team. And I think it's really hard to kind of guesstimate what each team is going to want to play and like how each team is going to want to play. And because at this point, everyone in SPL like knows the god pools of basically each other player in SPL, and basically how they want to play the game. But now it's actually a pretty big break on top of a patch. So if teams want to completely shake everything up, they can. If they want to stick to their bread and butter or just draft solely to counter the enemy team and not care about the buffs and nerfs to certain gods, then they can also do that as well. And I don't think the patch is like the biggest patch. I think it's a decent patch, but I don't think it's like meta breaking. Which I think there'd be a worlds patch right before.
Believe there will be another patch
It is,
before
yeah.
Worlds still.
Okay.
One more, I think.
I assume that one will shake it up a little bit, but I mean, I assume they don't want to shake it up too much because that's been what's been like played all year, I guess.
Right. Dude,
Um,
there's going to be so many changes for the Worlds meta. Like, and even every time Worlds is in January, it's so different than when Worlds is at the end of November, like in terms of what you see actually being played at Worlds. That's one of the things I really like. Full disclosure, I heavily prefer Worlds in November, if only because I don't have to have it hanging over my head while I'm enjoying Christmas with my family, because it is so stressful. Like, going home, I travel to where it's cold in Pittsburgh. I'm so like worried about my voice all the time. I'm constantly like worrying about that. I don't want to do. I hate doing that. I hate it. But I do really like the thing about January and Worlds, or Worlds in January, and that I get to hear all these like strategies coming up, like what teams are starting to pick, like, these weird starts that teams are starting to do that like no one else is working with. Like, I think that is really, really fun. And that is a point in favor of Worlds in January for sure. But
I think we definitely see some better Smite played for sure. I also like the shorter time of where we see the next season really quickly. Like we have the new Conquest map coming and things like that. So as soon as World's over, like we're already looking forward to what the next year is going to be. I like that part about it. But for sure, we see better Worlds played in January than we do in November. Even with the short break, most teams will probably take over like Christmas, New Year's, or at least go to like single blocks, so a little bit less practice. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround this year. It feels. I know we have to be in for like dress rehearsals and that kind of stuff on January 1st. So we are there early, and it's gonna be great. I cannot wait. Okay, obviously, obviously you guys are gonna be popping off. You guys are going to the finals of playoffs, no doubt. Obviously, who do you guys think will be the team that you play in the finals? What team do you think is kind of on the right trajectory in order to perform well at playoffs?
what bracket side are we on?
If it's like phase 1 playoffs, I don't know if we've released the phase 2 playoffs thing yet, but I assume it's like phase 1, and that would be that Ghost and SSG have buys. You guys would play third seed, which is Sanguine.
Yeah.
And then the winner of that would play Ghost.
Okay.
I think.
Or do they choose?
Or yeah, you're right. They choose.
Well, yeah,
I think they choose. If it's the same, it's the same as before. But if it's the same as before, I should say.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Then, but screw all that bracket nonsense. Let's say it's round robin, whatever. Who do you guys think you would play in the finals? What other team do you think is kind of hitting their stride at this time?
I think
go ahead.
Ghost. Sorry, I think Ghost.
Same answer. So.
Damn, I was hoping it would be different answers. That's what I was hoping for. That would have been fun. Why Ghost? And by the way, well, no, actually, I'll hit that afterwards. Go ahead. Why Ghost, Barra?
I think their confidence levels and the way they're playing the game is better than every other team right now. And I think the only team that's really giving them a run for their money is SSG, which they have been stomping SSG in the normal split in phase 2. So when you're stomping the only other people that really give you a run for your money, it's not looking great for everyone else in the league.
But so I do think it's worth noting, I'm jumping ahead of myself because this is what I was going to say a second ago. I think Ghost has a really good matchup against SSG. I think playstyle wise, they just match up well against SSG. I don't think they do against you. I think that your playstyle is much harder for Ghost to execute their game plan than a team like, say, SSG.
Oh, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think SSG is a very meta/slow team. I think SSG might be the slowest team right now. Because I think Sanguine, by Ronnie picking up Herc and playing the Horus again, just increases their early game aggression and their plays on the map so much. And SSG aren't really playing a style like that. I think SSG plays purely through Cherry, and if Cherry's not making plays on the map, I don't think Raffer is the kind of support. I mean, he does it sometimes, but it's not like to like a PBM level, I would say, or like an Aurora level of like taking farm away. But yeah, I do think we match up very well with Ghost.
Rowe, why do you think it would be Ghost? And you agree with Barra that you guys have a pretty good matchup there?
For sure, I think we have a better matchup into them than most other teams, just because we generally just do more janky stuff. I just think the way that team prepares is similar to the way they prepared like last year, for example. And not to just bring up the pain that they went through, but like when they lost to Armada, for example, like they don't deal well with like these janky things, because as well, I think they prefer to practice against like the top 4, top 5 teams more often, and those scrims are you wouldn't think so, at least not as janky as our scrims. So I think they have a less experience with that, and know how to deal with it less. I'm sure they've evolved over the year, evolved over the year. But I also think why like we'll face them in the finals because I think they have so much more in the tank. I know they don't practice as much as some other teams, but I think their practice is structured a lot better than most other teams. I think they experiment a decent amount for themselves, even if other teams aren't doing like janky things against them. I know, like I never know what Twig's gonna pick. Like he had that short time where he was like picking a lot of Habwa, and then but now he's jumping on Anubis and things like that before anybody else was. I think FinoK, since he plays the game so much and plays solo lane, like you very rarely see him in off role. He just has like such a deep pool in that role and such a deep understanding of that role. So you think like he has more in the tank in terms of like if you ban his top gods, then he isn't gonna fall far to the next gods, right? Whereas other teams I think like have their like solidified top 2, top 3 gods, and then there's a pretty decent step down to the next 4 or 5. But because of that, I just think they again struggle against like the janky stuff that we would do that maybe a Bay would do as well. I think we would have had, and I can speak for probably a Bay as well, that we would have had better results against Ghost this year if we were just more consistent. But in reality, that's kind of what just makes us a bad team is that we are inconsistent. Not to call ourselves bad, but
Sure.
haven't had the best results this year. But yeah. I think if we came into like we knew what they were going to pick and had these like hard counters that they wouldn't probably expect, then we would have a good matchup into them. I don't think they would ever like underestimate us, so I don't think that would come into play. But I think we'd definitely catch them off guard more than what most other teams would. Especially if it was like a Sanguine v Ghost finals, I think both teams would know exactly what the other team's going to play. So I don't think the result would be too surprising either way. But yeah, I think Ghost right now are just the most consistent team, and that should get them the longest run in best of fives in a tournament. So,
Yeah.
especially considering they skipped to yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's hard to vote against Ghost right now with the way that they're looking.
Yeah,
Chat, a couple people in chat talking about PK and whether or not you guys think they'll do well. They were red hot, had to take a quick break, came back and have looked definitely better since the beginning of the year, but not that same, blazing hot sort of stretch. Is PK a team that, would you think it has that potential or would be a concerned matchup for you guys?
They have the potential, right? After last year.
Yeah, to establish literally every team has potential, I think, at playoffs.
I guess. But I'll just go first because I think my answer will be quick. Is that I think they're just a big question mark. Like I think they turned up wildly so at the end of last year, and we just have to wait to see if they can do it again. I don't think they've been the biggest threat, even though we haven't beaten them this year. That's for our own reasons more than it is them, in my opinion. I just think if they have the same trajectory, like they shot up last year, and they do it again this year, the same result will happen. But that seemed like such an insane turnaround from them, and we talked about it on the roll queue that's coming out soon. Like what Biggie said in that episode, it's like after or during their Renegade set, they just flipped a switch and they became absolutely insane in the one tournament. I think any team with that potential is super scary. So I think they're a question mark, and that's probably if I was to take one team out of the SPL because I just don't want to face them, it would be that team because they're just a bigger question mark to me as a coach than most other teams. It's easier for me to read any other team except like E United, who have like Horrorwind and Scream with the biggest god picks. Like they've picked like 20 different gods each or something.
Yep.
That's a team that's hard to predict as well, but for different reasons. But yeah, I think Knights are just the biggest question mark, and it's a scary question mark at that because of what we saw last year. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. BaRRa, your thoughts on PK?
I just agree with basically everything that Rowe said. They're just sometimes it's like, man, I am just being suffocated. I cannot play the game. We're losing our blues, we're losing our backs, and oh, they're at like our 4-minute speed buff already. Wow, that's a new record. That's fun. And then other times it's just like, oh, they're not doing anything on the map. Wait, this is kind of nice. Like we're winning the game here, and I don't know what it is that kind of dictates like their question mark potential or like playmaking abilities. I know.
I know
Zap
they'd lose if
is-
Zaps had some wine. We'll put that out.
Yeah.
That's definitely a fact. But other than that, they're a question mark.
Yeah. I think Neil is kind of a question mark with his picks as well as his play style. I think Neil enables Paul a lot for just. I think Neil and Zap enable Paul
Mhm.
Mhm.
to kind of do his infinite amount of damage while taking less than 8,000 each game. And I feel like Scary and Cuba work really well together. Some games and other games, it's like kind of meh for the blue buffs and solo side fights. And I don't know, like their ceiling is so high, but their floor is so low.
Yeah. Do you think that
Yeah.
they are the biggest? They have the biggest gap there between floor and ceiling of any team at playoffs.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I think if you were to include the teams that weren't in playoffs, I think Obey's ceiling is actually somewhat high as well. Not as high as PK, but obviously they have a low ceiling as well because they finished at the bottom of the league. But that's another team that's just like just a big question mark for the same things. You just don't know what's going to happen on the day that they turn up, or you don't even know between game 1 and game 2, to be honest. Whereas it feels like once you face like one game of PK, like, all right, this is them today. Whereas against Obey, you're just like, okay, this is that game. I don't know what's gonna happen next game, kind of thing.
Mm.
But yeah. Again, just me and Barra agree. I think just a huge question mark over that team. You don't know what team you're gonna get on the day.
Yeah.
But real quick, I do feel like because it is playoffs, PK will play better, and their floor will be
think so,
way
yeah.
higher, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stepping up for the
Um,
big games has definitely been something that everyone on that team has done recently in their career, with the exception of Fred, who always has that kind of that question mark over his head. But in Fred's defense, you look at that Dignitas team last year and their performance that they had. I thought Fred played well in their big
I
games.
think he always turns up at Worlds at least. And they had like a huge run at Valencia as well. I think they had a good
Yep.
run, like
Mhm.
season 5, first split finals. I don't remember what it was called back then. Maybe Smite Masters or something. He had like a really pop off games there. I think he does turn up at Worlds more than playoffs, but yeah, we'll see. For sure.
How much stock do you guys put in that at like online versus LAN? You know, how good a player is at coming to LAN and that kind of stuff. Like, does that obviously it wouldn't factor into your game plan maybe, but like is that a thing, Barra, as a player? Like, is that a thing?
What do you mean exactly? Like, if I go against a player that's good on lane, am I gonna think about it?
No. Do you think being better on LAN, or worse? I get like being better
Hmm.
on LAN. I think is what everyone expects. Is being worse on LAN a thing as a player?
Yes, definitely. People will get in their heads all the time, especially like I thought we were gonna struggle a lot in the Unite set because it was a big set, and we just came in not caring and playing our game. And I think that showed a lot for our team, for our lane potential. But that is definitely a thing that people come to events with the pressure on, with the crowd and everything, and they just get in their own heads and they start question marking their own plays and decision making. And once you start doing that, you've already lost.
Yeah,
And-
it blows my mind that people are like, oh, being a Lanimal or a LAN like choker, so to speak, isn't really a thing. It is. It's so different playing from home in your PJs versus on stage. That was a direct quote from John Finch earlier today, and he's right. For the record, like it has to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, but I think the problem where it gets like this blurred line is everyone likes to think they're a LANimal. Everyone thinks they play better on LAN, and
Yeah,
it's
no
just
one's
not
like, man, I
true. Not
suck at
everybody
LAN.
Exactly, right? Nobody wants to admit that at least. I mean, shit, I'll admit it. I think I'm worse on LAN than I am at home, but
The first
least in
player
front of
ever.
a crowd.
Congrats, Rowe.
yeah, but like, I don't know. Also, like maybe people don't admit it because they don't want to be like, people to intimidate them on purpose or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's just why it's such a little bit of a question mark is because everyone thinks they're better on LAN. But the reality is, I think everyone, at least that's a good competitor, is better under a little bit of pressure, and then some people crack sooner than others. That's all it is the way I see it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because we were talking about some of the old Xbox LANs, me and Mifflin, and I was saying that I didn't get to go to many LANs, but I was kind of LANimal, you guys. I mean, let's okay.
Everybody
but,
thinks that. That's what I'm
okay,
saying.
I did have one really bad Ice Assault against the Envy team where I like insta popped it against Allied and we almost didn't kill him, but we did still kill him. And then after that, my nerves were gone, and I think I played pretty well after that. And I'm holding on to that, and no one can prove me otherwise. As far as I'm concerned.
It's kind of crazy that you still remember that one.
Yeah, the fact that you remember
Dude,
that.
no, I remember.
That's concerning.
Dude, ask me about any of my like SCL sets. I'm the type of player that remembers, like, I remember that kind of stuff really, really well. Players in my experience are either like, I could be like, yo, to Aurora, I could go, yo, do you remember like season 3 Worlds whenever you did this in game 3 against Obey? And he'd be like, yeah, we were talking about doing this instead. And then we like invaded a blue that we should have been invading a red on. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about instantly, as if he watched it yesterday. If I'm talking to like other players, I'll go, hey, do you remember like this huge set? And you know, I talked to Vote for his player spotlight, and I was like, how did you know, what was your first competitive team? And he goes, I don't really remember. Maybe I'm putting too bad a name on Vote. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but you know, some players are.
I mean,
like,
I'm the same way. So
you aren't that bad, BaRRa. Come on.
If you asked me to remember like Game 2, Season 1 Worlds when we're sieging a Phoenix, I would have no idea what you're talking about.
Really? Do you remember? Okay, let's do a quick little test here.
Okay.
There's gonna be pop-off moments you remember.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you about little minutia, right? Like, I'm not gonna ask you about like, oh, do you remember doing like this tiny little thing? But you know, Game 4, Season 2 Worlds, Cloud9 versus Epsilon, like. Do you remember anything about that game?
I don't remember anything of that World except for us getting double killed, Game 5, and then the game feeling over.
That's the only thing you remember?
Yeah, because that was the biggest like turning point of that set of just like, man, we got double killed in mid. Nice. Here we go.
Come on,
Gonna have
man.
to try
Come
to...
on. All right. How about Season 3, LG? Do you remember playing against Energy that LAN?
A bit. But I just remember... Like, there was one time I dashed into Emilito, hit every auto, and then he was in his Soul 3, and I taunted, and the crowd went absolutely insane. And I was like, yeah, we're going to win this, and then we lost.
Did you think you lost before or after getting watching Xeno get beamed over a wall at level 1?
Oh, that was also terrible. Oh, wait, no. The real thing that okay, it was Game 5.
Back to him.
Yeah, Game 5. Okay, our strat was Izanami mid, and he still gets roasted for this, and it wasn't even Xeno's fault. Okay, we were supposed to do like an hourglass on the map. Okay, it was.
Why have you had bad drafts for 5 years, BaRRa?
Yeah. Okay, all right. Izanami was not the issue. We were supposed to pressure through mid like this, so like kind of jam all of our pressure.
For those of you, this is a podcast for everyone else who's listening. BaRRa is making a little. He's making a little fountain. Yeah, an hourglass.
Yeah, hourglass.
Shape with his hands here. You're supposed to pressure through mid by getting pressure in the mid lane, and then it extends out into the side lanes. That's what he's making.
And then
the gesture he's making.
We just ganked solo lane like 800 times, and Izanami just did nothing.
I do remember that.
And that was not our strat at all. And we just kept doing it. And I was like, this ain't gonna work.
That is brutal. Speaking of LAN, so speaking of LANs and having that feeling, is there a worse feeling than knowing that you've lost, like you're about to lose on LAN? That is just that is a pit of despair that I just like I've never really experienced anywhere else in my life. Even with like my stakes clearly far lower. That did not feel good. That did not feel good. I'll never forget Game 2. We're up against Paul's old COG team. On console, Uzi gets soloed wave 2 by Soup Kitchen. He goes, oh, I leveled the wrong ability. Gets soloed. Or this was Game 3, actually, because we won Game 1. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We're going to be fine. And then we just started losing objective after objective and fight after fight. And I was like, man, we lost. That really sucks. And that was hard, dude. It's hard to like stay in it mentally in those moments, you know?
It's very painful when you're the team getting snowballed on.
Yep.
And they have full pressure and they are not making mistakes.
Yep.
And you're just sitting there like, that's gold, that's pyro or portal, whatever it was. Now it's fire. Now our tier 2s are gone. And then you look up, and in this moment, you're 20k down and they're sieging a Phoenix. And you are not a team comp that is good on defense. And you're just sitting there like, man, there's nothing I can say that will cheer up the team or make us win this game. Because you can't be like, don't worry, guys, we're still in this. Like,
that's a
come
tilt.
on.
Yeah, if I hear
Keep
that
your
and I
moods
know,
up.
yeah, come on, get out of here.
Yeah. Every team has certain quotes or like certain players that have those quotes. And I remember like, well, I think like this team, like when the things are going badly in a game, Ven will be like, "Oh, it's okay. We're only X amount of gold down. Like we can come back from this." And I remember one time Ven saying, like, not jokingly, like we're 20k down. Like it's 20.
Wait, that's a
he
lot.
just like wait. Yeah, he's like, okay, maybe it is over.
Yeah, those are rough.
Those sinking feelings are what. Do you guys remember when the T screen used to have the graphs on them, like you can see on Spectator now?
Yep.
Seeing like, you know, you had an early game comp and it was going well, and you threw at one point, and seeing that graph just go all the way down, and you know you can't defend because you have nobody that can defend at a siege, or they've got like a nemesis that wins every 1v1, so they're just gonna split push and win the game. That is a sinking feeling. I hate those. But also like when I was on like my Australian teams, we had a good game one against Energy, who had just come off like back-to-back world championship wins, and we were winning. And then we threw the game, and I don't think you could see graphs back then, but I had like a huge sinking feeling like this was not going to go well. As soon as they got it in the lead, like the two-time world champions against this 0-6, like 3-year record in international tournaments, was not going to go well.
Yep.
And then I remember like, all right, we have like, we almost like, we had a good early game one, we threw it, but let's not do that again in game 2. And I think I died for first blood at like a minute 30 or something. I was like, shit, I was Kabrakin, and I was like, this is going to go terribly. And we were just laughing the whole time of game 2.
Yeah.
Those sinking feelings. I think they're a little bit. I mean, my stakes were a lot lower, but I think they're a bit worse for me. Well, at least in my like compared to some other things, maybe not like finals level, but because like we used to play like 2 best of ones for the year at World Champions, and it would be like finishing my second best of one as a loss. It's like 30 hours. Flight home, I have to watch the rest of this tournament. It was like horrendous, but I was just kind of like, I'm happy to be here, and crying on the inside as well.
Dude, I'll never forget. I don't know if I've ever actually told this story. Season 2, we're in open bracket because we lost to that COG team that we should have beaten, and that's when Envy has come over and is going to be playing in the open bracket. We've been scrimming against them for months at this point, and we're like, you know, we win our first 2 rounds like we knew we would, and we're like, okay, we're done for the day. Let's go get some food. We go get some food, and because it's like open bracket, I don't think it was even run by Hi-Rez admins. I think it was like UMG or something like that. We get like BaRRaCCuDDa or someone gets a message and is like, yo, we're playing Envy in like 30 minutes now instead of waiting until tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, and we were literally about to get food. I literally like can't eat because I'm like, oh man, now I've got to like, now I'm stressing super hard. Luckily, we had already gone over our strat for playing against them because we knew we would. And we were going to go Isis Odin, and we were just going to do nothing but objectives. We were going to not fight them at all. We were going to only do objectives. And
that sounds good.
And that is a plan.
It was working, dude. We were up like 4K at like 14 minutes. We had done every single objective. We were owning. And then, except for my one really whack ice assault that I already talked about. And then Allied hit a 3-man Kukulkan ult on left mids and triple killed us instantly. And as soon as that happened, I was like, all right, we lost. Like,
that's it.
All right, you know, and we were feeling so good. You know, I've got Leon to my left. Like, you know, he's amped up that we're winning against Envy. He's like yelling at Weekend's yelling back. Like, we're having a good time because, you know, it's Xbox. Like, that's what we do. And then we got triple Kukulkan ulted. And Allied told us that we got effed, and he was right. And then we lost. And then game 2 was so over from minute 1 that BaRRaCCuDDa tried to get an admin's attention so he could go to the bathroom. Admin didn't look, and Chach just got up and went to the bathroom and left in the middle of the game because we were already down like 9K in like 18 minutes.
Oh no!
That was how that went. That was our tournament, and that was our tournament.
Is that the back room? Like the ballroom?
Yeah, the ballroom.
So you'd like sit across from each other?
Yep, exactly. Dude, it was so fun.
Allied right now.
Yeah, it was great fun. And that game 1 for the record was the only close game Envy had all tournament. We gave them their best game, and I'm taking that.
Wow.
I'm taking that with me, no doubt about it. Chat, by the way,
that's how I felt about last year's playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Renegades won.
Yep, that's how you got to do it.
It's a small thing to hang on to, but I'll take it over anything else.
Makes you feel a little bit better. Chat's been losing their minds, by the way, about the Barra Mohawk, of course, and what player would get the biggest buff by getting a Mohawk on their side.
Boat.
Oh, Vote with a mohawk would be good.
But
I don't know if Vote can be better than he is right now. That man is perfection.
Okay.
I have the biggest crush on him right now, dude. He plays everything so well. I watch so much Vote VOD. That man is perfect. Sorry.
Beast. What about
He-
I'm thinking Dardes with like the old European punk rock style mohawk where it's like
Ooh.
like the spiky
the real
mohawks,
big
you know what I mean?
ones?
Yeah, the really big ones. Kind of like the punk rock Apollo skin.
Yeah.
Like Dardes with one of those, I think could work
He'd
for
look
me.
good.
What about
Maybe Cherry.
Yarkor would be? I think Yarkor could rock it.
I think all of Sanguine, honestly.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, all of
If they-
Sanguine would be
I
strong.
could honestly do that.
What are the
Or
chances?
PBR.
I brought this up on cast today. Bear, you've been playing really well since the Mohawk. Have you maybe talked to your team about like maybe they try and get some Hawks to join in with you? You know, like get some real synergy for the team.
I mean, Vin's already like halfway there. I don't think Harry would ever do it. Last
Harry
would
would
do
never.
Last would do whatever it takes to win. And Jake
Jake
would
can't
probably
keep
do
his
that.
head still, so I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Jake had a great haircut going into like the photo you've all seen of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just like quickly just put it in the Discord. I can't put it in the chat, unfortunately. I have
Unlucky.
to just type in.
Maybe
awesome
I can
Jake
pull it up at the
408.
very end. I don't know how it's gonna like break my overlay. I don't even know if
Maybe.
I'll be able to pull it up.
But
maybe tweet it
Hey,
out
well,
afterwards.
yeah,
People
I'll
can
give him
find
a
it on
shout
the
out. You
list.
can see the picture if you go to vote for him for the Rookie of the Year on the
There you
Spike
go.
Game website. There, you can see the picture that way. He had a great haircut going into that, and he has like the shaved sides already, so he could do it. I think the only person on our team that wouldn't do well, me as well, but Harry just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
imagine Harry doing it.
But yeah, it would take like 20 seconds for Ven and Jake to have a mohawk, I think.
Easy peasy. Destiny can go over to the team house and square him up real easily, right, Bear?
I was surprised that she did good.
She did a good.
Like,
Bear, you're not surprised, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me help you out
I-
here, buddy. Let me help you out here, buddy. You are not surprised that she did a good
those
job.
chocolate chip cookies were 10s.
Yeah. Oh no, this again. No. This the haircut was a 10, right, Bear? I mean, the best haircut
Yeah.
you've ever gotten.
Okay, so last time she cut my hair to like shave it was for it was like 3 years ago, and she was not doing it well, and it was not an enjoyable experience because I was just like, all you have to do is shave my head. Why are you like doing all this stuff? Like you just take it up one side, you know, just go across.
Mhm.
That's all you gotta do. And anyways, it was not an enjoyable experience. But this time, she kind of struggled in the beginning because I think she was really nervous.
Yeah.
But she pulled it off, and it was supposed to be a troll thing. And
Right.
then here we are with it, and it's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad.
Undefeated since the Hawk. Not a.
Yep.
Yeah. You know you have to keep it, right?
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
keep it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm keeping it to playoffs. We'll see how we do at playoffs, and we'll see how I do.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Because
fair. That's fair.
I'm kind of permanently holding down my W key and then hoping I'm not getting ganked. And then I got ganked twice today
Well,
by
that's understandable.
Cubo. And okay, so I watched Zap's drunk stream.
A real treat, by the way.
A real treat. If you haven't watched any of
I haven't
Zap's
watched the
stream,
beginning. I didn't see any of the stuff between him and Panda Cat. I gotta go back and watch it.
there was a lot, and I don't know if it was true or made up on stream and
Sure.
how realistic any of it was. Anyways, Zap was saying that I'm gonna be on your tower and you're gonna be crying for ganks. I'm on his tower and then I get ganked, and I'm like, Steve, come on, buddy. You can't be saying that trash talking, and then Cubo comes across my ward as Nemesis, and I'm just like, why am I Scotty right now, dude? I'm just
Great
there's
question.
nothing I can do to live right now, and I just die. And then he later or earlier was at my purple, and then last gave me a talking to after the game. I was like, why'd you guys do alpha instead of purple? And I was like, I didn't know I was gonna get ganked right there, man. It's cringe gank. I'm like level 3, he's level 5. Like, why is he there? But I mean, like, I didn't say that. I just know I'm wrong. So there's nothing I can say to last. to be
Bear,
like, yeah,
you do realize that your jungler literally lives in duel.
okay, I tell him to because it's so easy. Dual
Okay, but
laners
then
just-
you don't admit it.
including
Oh my
That did
God!
not help your case, Barra. That did not help your
admitted
case.
You can't
Dual laners
ask for it from your jungler and then complain when other junglers do it to you, man.
I gotta leave you on this one, Barra.
Okay, that's fine.
So
I'm
rough.
an idiot along with every other dual laner that we play our lane like there's no jungler most of the time. I mean, playoffs and like real games, we probably will be like,
Yeah,
respect.
we'll see about that. We will.
I probably will not be. I will be holding that WK.
Of course,
But,
naturally.
yeah.
Before we get going here today, we got to have our random question of the week. We got to get a sponsor for the random question of the week. Like it's a mainstay of the podcast. That's a good idea.
Well,
Prediction, guys.
We need a line though. Like we can't name it random question of the week.
No, it'd be like the question of the week
Presented by.
Yeah, brought I've got a
RQW.
Mr. Goodbar little rapper here, so this is just an example. But like, here's the
what
Mr.
you
meant.
Goodbar
Like
question.
last week.
Here's the Mr. Goodbar question. You know what I mean? That's what we could do. So much talk about the Mohawks and haircuts. Everyone I know likes their haircut to go a little bit differently. Are you guys people that like to do you want your barber, hairdresser talking to you while you're getting your haircut? Do you want complete silence? Like, what is your ideal haircut interaction level whenever you go to get it cut? Assume there's not a global pandemic and you can actually get your haircut without being worried about your safety.
Thank you for that little
Yeah, anytime.
tidbit. I like having a conversation, and I feel like it passes the time. Unless the person is completely different, age-wise, or we're just two completely different people, and we're just here making this painful conversation. That's not enjoyable. But if we're kind of roughly close in age, or close in life experiences, and we can have a decent conversation, then I'll take conversation any day of the week.
Interesting. I don't think that's a common stance, Barra. Chat is going off that silence is the way they do it.
Well, weird that Twitch chat doesn't want people to talk to them.
Well, I'm with Twitch chat because since moving around the world so often, I move every year. I've never been able to connect with one barber, and I've never found a barber that I can just chill with.
Yeah.
I just have, especially this year, I think I've had really terrible luck with the barber that I've been going to. It's a lady, and she just keeps talking about men should I don't know, men just oh, you came here to escape your wife. I was like, I'm 25.
Dude,
and what question is that?
What is that, man? Who
Yeah.
asks that? Is she hitting on you? I don't know.
No, her daughter is working there as well, and she's
There you
5
go.
feet away. So I don't know if she's trying to set that up.
you up, yeah.
Again, no thanks.
I mean, Rowe, she'd be lucky. I mean, come on.
Appreciate it. I am sitting at my girlfriend's apartment right now, and she's maybe 20 feet away.
Getting closer.
But I've just got if let's put it as a smite term, it's just too high risk, high reward to go for the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Way too high risk, high reward.
Right.
BaRRa hates that term because he always goes for those plays.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it in the long run. I'd rather just have the silence. Same for Uber rides. Same goes for everything. I'm also just sick of having the you play video games question. It's my son plays Fortnite. You know Fortnite? I don't care.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
Yeah. Uber rides, complete silence. Please.
Yeah. Hard agree with Uber.
Yeah.
Interesting that you want silence in Uber rides, Barra, but not.
Okay, no, they're different. You're in their car, dude. It's so different.
Yeah, you're sitting in their seat. They're both seats.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can spin me around as much as she wants. Do that in the car as well.
I suppose so. For me,
sorry.
For me, I do have a consistent barber now, though I haven't had during COVID. But in the last year, I've gotten a consistent barber. Shout outs to the boy Boris. I want. Hey Boris, how you doing?
All the way to the UK? That's crazy.
Good. How are you? I'm doing well. How's work? Good. You been busy recently? Not really. Okay, cool. And then silence from there. Oh, how's that look? Whatever. And then we're out of there. Tip them. See you in a couple weeks. That is my ideal. Haircut interaction, and one of the great reasons why Boris is the GOAT. But also because he gives the best straight razor shave I've ever had. You guys, straight razor shaving is that is the peak of manhood. Am I right? You guys are with me on this one?
I want to agree, but I haven't got it nailed down yet. I keep
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. That's for sure. Definitely, that's horrifying.
Well.
No way. I'm talking.
Well, if I'm changing barber every year, I don't want to trust anybody else with it either. So I don't know.
True.
I don't think I've ever had a good or one that's man, this is the peak of manhood. I'm just laying there in a barber chair, man.
Oh, it's when they get if you do a fade from they get the back of your neck completely smooth, and you run your fingers back there. It's ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the
well,
beard.
and that, yeah, I get my neck,
okay.
dude, I missed it. That is when I think about things that I miss because of quarantining, that is like top 10 for me, is getting my hair cut regularly and getting a nice straight razor shave, dude. That is just, I miss it so much.
Just the little things.
I want to give it a shot.
It is the little things. Real quick, Rowe, before we go, chat demands, I really don't want to make this a regular thing, but chat's going to make me.
Was it?
Yeah, they are.
100 Mifflin clones in a fight to the death against one angry alpha silverback gorilla. Who wins?
It's not even. It's a first of all dumb question because like we need a scenario like where we are. Like if we're out in the field, gorilla every day of the week.
We're in a field.
If I've got
Gorilla every day of the week. Thank you. All right.
Yeah. Obviously, if there's some obstacles and the Mifflins can run and hide, which they probably would do, by the way.
Yep.
Then that'd be a bit easier. But in a field, not a chance. Not a
Thank
chance.
you.
Which one of the 100 Mifflins is going to be like, I'll go first?
Not me, dude.
Nope.
Not me.
You. No.
Smartest coach
No
in the
chance.
SPL right here, everybody.
agree.
Rowe, or coach of the Renegades. Thanks so much for coming on, Rowe. Good luck to you guys at playoffs. I don't know. I actually have to talk about whether or not we're going to do an episode next week during the bye week. But we will work that out. Make sure you guys are checking out the whole prediction esports sphere, if you will. They're all through a whole bunch of different esports, bunch of good shows that you guys should be checking out if you're interested in any other esports. And make sure you give us a rating and all that kind of good stuff. Oh, I forgot to plug my Twitch, twitch.tv/aggro. Catch you guys later. Thanks so much for watching as per usual. And Barra, you know what to do.
Bye. Not great. Not great.